Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back another video from 6, and I don't know if you watched the Clyde video, but like that one, I've been waiting on this one to get closest to the end of JJK. It's my understanding that at the time of this recording this, there's 2 more chapters of JJK left to be released, so I thought, we'll do this now. I did the Clyde one talking about Nobara coming back, and so I thought about checking this one out now, about whether it is actually over for Sukuna, because it does seem like it, but 2 chapters left, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, so this video is called It's Over for Sukuna this time. ... Let's get into it.
This video contains massive spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen's manga.
So if you're not... I'd say if you're... Yeah. Because it's going to spoil a lot. So I'd say if you're in the... If you're at least 5 chapters away from the end, potentially you're alright.
The Sukuna cycle is
finally
over. After 31 chapters of fighting the entire cast of the verse, the King of Curses has finally been put down for good. After a massive
has he?
black flash from Yuji proved too much for him to handle. But with the cycle being over, you can't help but acknowledge how truly generational the Sukuna cycle was. After all, putting a random character up against everyone in the verse is something everyone talks about with every strong guy that shows up in Shonen. And here, Sukuna actually did it. He took on all the best sorcerers there were, and didn't even give it his all during some of the battles, and was still only done in because being a reincarnated player means that his body not being what it once was 1,000 years ago left him extremely susceptible to Yuji's attacks.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And then he didn't even get all his fingers either, which was his downfall as well. It's pretty crazy.
So with the cycle being over, let's take a look back on how Sukuna was able to keep it going for so long. How he managed to not only seemingly cheat death in some instances,
yeah, because it did seem it, didn't it?
but how he outright destroyed every powerful sorcerer there was, and the mistakes he made that led to his eventual demise.
He played with some people as well. Like, they even say in the most recent one I read, like, some people are like, he could have just killed me then and there, but he just messed about, and it's like he didn't actually go all out against these people either. He enjoyed it, majority.
I suppose it's also important to address that Sukuna might possibly be alive.
There is that, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he is. I don't think he's done.
Or at least there is a decent amount of people who think so, which if you do think so, that's fine. Just know this video won't be taking any of those theories into account. And I'm
That's
sure
fair.
regardless of if you think Sukuna is alive or not, it will be him coming up with a method to survive, and this wasn't all part of some grand scheme. Since not only did he try to once again cling to Megumi while he was dying, his own
Yeah, he was really like, what are you doing
internal
here?
monologues do
Because even Megami was like, it sounds like you're panicking.
not suggest a comeback plan is in his cards. With the intro out of the way, we can get started talking about Kashimo. Sukuna's mistake here is almost not worth mentioning. There was no way for him to know that Kashimo would be resistant to lightning-based attacks and that Kamutoke wouldn't really work against him. Kashimo, aside from that, was dealt with very quickly. He barely managed to give Sukuna a fight at all. While it is true Sukuna did use his true form against him, we'd be hard-pressed to say this was for anything outside of healing the physical damage that had been done to his body beforehand during the fight with Gojo.
I like this. I didn't realize this was going to be like a recap of... This is cool. All right. Sick.
Of course, Sukuna is still Sukuna regardless of which form he's in.
Yeah,
But
he's
we
still
know
him.
For a fact, physical damage weaken your curse technique, and Sukuna is wearing a lot of it when he gets done fighting Gojo. He's missing 2 eyes, an arm, and this is without mentioning he wasn't at 100% before Gojo.
Yeah, so he
hit him
definitely needed to
level
heal, so that's one way of
But
doing it.
Kashimo's spot here
Do you know what
isn't
it's like?
really for the
Sorry. It's reminding me of... so, I remember in Budokai... I think it's in Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. I remember that like you'd keep your health down, but you'd hold on to your transformations, and then you'd wait for the bar to go up, and then just before they kill you, you transform to like Super Saiyan 4. You're at your most powerful, but you've also healed all your health. I think that was the thing, was it?
Sukuna cycle.
Wasn't it?
He just
I think.
happens to be a victim of Sukuna. Kashimo fought Sukuna for his own reasons and to understand a bit more about
I'm probably
people.
wrong now, aren't I?
Another
But
guy
like...
who was also considered the strongest. His elimination is nothing special in the grand theme of the cycle,
Such a good
but
game,
the
though.
things to take note of from this fight are that Sukuna has now brought out his full form, meaning he no longer has that as an option to heal. He showed everyone, or at least gave them a clue on how he has to use his world cutting slash after launching it for no other
But
reason
now he has
to
4
fight
arms,
some
so he can do all
Kashimo.
this other
And through
crazy
it,
stuff.
he now has his curse tool Kamutoke. Yuji and Higuruma descend on Sukuna to start what people mostly consider the Sukuna cycle. In the middle of this, however, we get a cutaway for a fight between Kenjaku and Takaba. This isn't super important to the Sukuna cycle, but there are some
This was sick, and like from the leaked page I've seen, I think it's this guy talking, because I'm terrible with names. Sorry, and then a speech bubble which looks like it's over this guy's face. So intriguing.
bits of information here, at least from the last chapter, that are going to be important for when we eventually.
So it's
come to
interesting he's
Yuta.
mentioning them
That
now.
being Yuta getting help from Todo in order to cut off Kenjaku's head, and the fact that he ate Kenjaku's brain in order to copy his curse technique. Other than that, Kenjaku is now dead, and Yuta hurries his way to the
Or
battlefield.
is he?
The order of events here are interesting, as I think
Unless
could
someone
have
else
been
is-
a very good point for Yuta.
Unless someone else's brain is in that body. Can you imagine if that's how they bring Gojo back? Because they can't do it. Oh, it could get
Sukuna,
crazy, couldn't
But
it?
I'll mention that when we get to it. Higuruma and Yuji proceed with the plan to get Sukuna into Higuruma's domain and take away both his curse technique and get the Executioner sword. By the way, for the sake of learning, we're gonna count how many times Yuji punches Sukuna with a punch
Cool.
to drive him away from Megami's soul. This is the first one. He successfully gets Sukuna into domain,
That's
but
an
he doesn't
interesting one as well,
care
cool.
and gets the maximum sentence. However, Higuruma's lack of knowledge on his own curse technique prevented everyone from knowing that confiscation would only take away Sukuna's curse tool and not his curse technique. And at this time,
There was a
Kusukage
panic
tells
there,
Onizuka
wasn't there,
to
yo?
take the field. And it's worth noting, Sukuna says everyone here has significantly higher defense or cursed energy reinforcement. Everyone fights with Sukuna here, but no meaningful progress is made at all. Choso gets put out of commission for a few chapters. Higuruma starts to learn advanced sorcerer techniques, and Sukuna gains interest. But all his fight amounts to is Sukuna losing a hand that he recovered extremely easily.
Yeah,
At the time,
that was annoying.
one of Sukuna's mistakes appears in the middle of this fight when he doesn't just kill Yuji, and this is pretty standard villain mistake.
Yeah.
They leave the good guy alive for too long, and then their plan ends up being foiled because of it. And they probably should have just killed them long
Straight
ago.
away,
But
yeah.
the difference with Sukuna is that we know he's trying to kill Yuji. Here, he blew out his side. He had no idea that Yuji had learned reverse curse technique at this point. And not only that, Yuji says this blow should have been fatal, and it would have been if not for his learning of RCT. So I'm not sure why Sukuna didn't just cleave apart Yuji's whole body here. We've seen his cleave cover much more surface area than this before. He even took out the whole side of a building
Yeah.
against Machi, not to mention the dismantle net he threw at Kashimo, or the fact that we've simply seen Sukuna go for the head before. He took off this girl's head, he did the same thing to this girl, and he cut Ryu's head, so it's not like this is out of character for him or anything. Regardless, it's a mistake he made and he paid for it. So Higuruma is out and the Sukuna cycle continues. The only notes here are Sukuna has lost Kamutoke and he received one soul punch, resulting in him being a teeny tiny bit weaker. Next up is Yuta.
It does take
and,
a lot,
this
doesn't it,
could
to
have
take
gone
him
down
down.
so differently. I mentioned earlier, I thought the order of events here was interesting because there could have been a very good point for Yuta to take out Sukuna way earlier than this. Don't worry, I'm not saying this is a plot hole. There is an in-universe explanation I'll go over in a moment. But imagine this perfect world where Yuta comes out as soon as
Because I don't know if it's in the chapter that he's talking about, but like they do go over the order of events themselves, don't they? And then start going over the mistakes they made and how they should have better approached it. But then they're also like, well, no, these things couldn't have worked that way. They go on hypotheticals, like how they should have approached it better. So this is interesting.
Sukuna leaves Higuruma's domain. and
Can't
opens
remember
his domain.
what their
Sukuna is
alternatives they
forced
said
to
they
the
were,
wicker
but-
basket, as he should, but Yuta yells, "Don't move," at which point the executioner sword stabs Sukuna and he is now dead. We've already seen that curse speech works on Sukuna, and Yuta was able to use it to get a hit on him afterwards, so if anything, the sword could just be passed to Yuta for him to land the killing blow, and I don't really see a reason this would not have worked out in their favor. If you take Kashimo out of the equation, then Higuruma could get the executioner sword, and Yuta could come in on weakened one-arm Megami Sukuna, to which the plan just becomes even more effective and take him out. The reason something like this doesn't happen in the actual story is because Yuta wanted to kill Kenjaku with his own hands. To put it simply, Yuta had faith in the other plan and went to go do what he wanted to do the most, which was take out Kenjaku, and he even blames himself for Higuruma's death. Regardless, Sukuna's fight with Yuji and Yuta is a masterpiece. This is some of the coolest fighting in JJK, and it's probably the second best fight out of the cycle if you include Gojo vs Sukuna. There's a ton of information revealed in this fight, but as far as stuff relevant to the actual cycle, it's not that much. However, Yuji starts landing punches again, so we had to do our count. He
Keep
lands
counting.
2 good shots at the beginning of chapter 250,
So that's 3.
and then 5 more throughout the rest of
That's
the
8.
chapter, for a total of 7 in this chapter and 8 overall.
Oh, okay.
He then lands 4 more in chapter 3.
I was like, my mouse isn't that bad.
51 for a total of so far 12. Before being out of commission for a few chapters, Yuta is hit with an amped up dismantle and on death's door when Sukuna makes his next mistake, getting stabbed in the heart by Maki, which is stated to be a conventional move that he should have otherwise been able to avoid. So the
He can't censor.
big takeaways from this fight are Sukuna being heavily weakened due to losing an arm, being hit by a maximum output Jacob's ladder, and getting pummeled by Yuji. There is no true way to tell how weakened Sukuna is here, but Yuji lands 12 punches on him and he isn't separated from Megumi yet, assuming the state Sukuna entered the fight at is his 100% quote unquote. Yuji's punches don't even do 8% damage to Sukuna's hypothetical health bar and output mana bar. Sukuna claims to be able to kill Yuji and Yuta with a cleave if he gets a hold of them, similar to Ryu. And
I'm remembering it doesn't fully recover your health. No, I've just gone back to the Budokai 3. I think it just like takes you to a full bar that you're on. But if you're in your final, yeah, I
he
don't
does
know.
exactly that to Yuta and gets a headshot.
And you could also use the transformation as a way of blocking a technique. So say if someone did a final Kamehameha on you, I think you could do it with the final Kamehameha with a Super Saiyan 4, you transform into Super Saiyan 4, it's wasted on you, their energy bar's down, but then you've got your health bar back. And, yeah, okay.
Nonetheless, it still
Think
doesn't
that
put Yuta down after he's weakened. So he got weaker, and that's all we really know, and then Maki stabbed him in the heart, weakening him even more than that. Now, Maki is next up, but aside from her fight just being pretty cool, she doesn't really do anything to Sukuna. All the cool stuff that happens in the fight are feats from Maki. She's dodging his slashes, tanking his slashes on some occasions, and apparently she's the person Sukuna has the most interest in. The main takeaway from this fight is that Sukuna hit a Black Flash. It's important to note that obviously he hits this Black Flash in a weakened state, so it's not like landing it means he's now at full power or anything. He should just be enjoying the 20% increase that Black Flash gives you from an unquantifiably weakened state. For example, if Sukuna was at 10% of his maximum power here, a 20% increase would only result in him getting to 12% of his maximum power. Regardless, the cycle continues, and the next to step in is Kusakabe, who, similar to Maki, is not really worth talking about, except to an even less degree. At least Maki had stabbed Sukuna in the chest and gotten some pretty hype statements and feats. Kusakabe does come in and get called the strongest grade 1 sorcerer, but then we learn
So
Meimei
cool.
thinks her and Nanami hit harder than him, and that the only or biggest reason everyone picked Kusakabe as the strongest grade 1 sorcerer is because he's kind-hearted. After Kusakabe's departure, the most random person to show up this entire cycle comes in, or I guess the 2 most random people, that being
Is this Miguel?
LaRue and Miguel.
There you go. Yeah.
Now, even though these guys are random, they do a good bit in terms of helping everyone out. For one,
But they could have turned up earlier, and that's something that they point out, don't they, when they're talking? It's like, it's just like, I
they
did
say
ask.
Wee, which, considering Wee doesn't teleport anyone else away after this, isn't all too useful, but he's been the MVP this arc, helping everyone train and teleporting them off the battlefield. So saving him was cool, and LaRue helps to distract Sukuna so that Yuji can land a Black Flash, which led to his awakening. Other than that, Miguel is the only person to join the fight to not get touched by Sukuna at all, but they don't do much outside of this. Maki pops back up and cuts one of Sukuna's arm, which was a great move, but she also gets hit by another Black Flash, although she does take this one a lot better than the last one she did, as she isn't out of commission at all, but does quickly get put out of commission by Sukuna's following slashes. Choso also pops back up, but aside from eating another Black Flash and helping Yuji with a piercing blood, he doesn't do anything worth noting. So at the end of all this, Sukuna's current status is that he's missing 3 of his arms, has landed 4 Black Flashes, and taken one himself as Yuji awakens. The next chapter consists of a Black Flash bargain sale, with Yuji landing 1 on the first punch he throws, and Sukuna immediately
Was it 5 he
following
throws
with
in this
another one.
chapter? I can't
Yuji hits
remember.
another Black Flash afterwards, and then another following that one. Sukuna tries to counter with an attack that combines punching and slashes, but nothing is really phasing Yuji as he lands another Black Flash.
That's 4.
Sukuna cuts Yuji's face, but then Yuji lands another Black Flash. This one tears off one of Sukuna's eyes. Then Ino distracts Sukuna, and Yuji lands another Black Flash.
So
That's
6.
7 Black Flashes in total, which prevented Sukuna from regaining
I
his
count 6.
RCT, the same way Gojo did after
Maybe I
landing
am
2
terrible
Black
at that.
Flashes. But Sukuna did learn how to recover his domain, mixing with different binding vows and a new hand sign, which is just Gojo's old hand sign. It allowed him to use Malevolent Shrine, but at the cost of it being incomplete and only able to be at full output for 99 seconds. After the
Still,
shrine is done
what it can
attacking,
do is a pretty
Sukuna
long
uses
time.
his furnace technique and burns everything in the surrounding area. While Toto got most of the sorcerers out of the way of harm using his upgraded curse technique, Yuji and Choso, who were at the center, were unable to be saved, so Choso sacrificed his life to save Yuji. Sukuna at this point has now recovered his domain, although incomplete, now has 2 arms as he healed one to use Divine Flame, and is currently experiencing Curse Technique burnout. Toto now joins the battle with an upgraded Boogie Woogie that Sukuna cannot seem to get a hold of unless
So
he's
sick
tracking
that this
when Yuji
happened.
is about to attack him. This continual switching eventually results in Yuji landing yet another Black Flash on Sukuna, making it a total of 8. But just when Yuji is about to rip out his heart, Sukuna is able to use his CT again and starts to use his domain expansion, but then Yuta shows up inhabiting Gojo's body, and this doesn't really
It was so random that they did this. Because it didn't amount to anything, did it?
amount to anything.
There we go.
Other than
But, you know,
Sukuna just once again not being able to use his curse technique.
it's just so weird. It's like, what a random out of field thing to do.
Yuji and Toto rush Sukuna again, but Toto gets distracted and Sukuna lands a Black Flash on him, destroying his Vibra Slap. Toto isn't done using it, however, switching Yuji with pieces of Yuta's broken domain, and Yuji drives a ton of slashes through the barrier between Megumi and Sukuna's souls, causing Sukuna to spit up his fingers, but he just swallows them again. Toto swaps just one last time, and it's for Angel to come in and use Jacob's ladder on Sukuna just one more time.
And he just jumps. And when people on Twitter were like, I can't believe Jacob's ladder is something you just climb. He didn't actually climb the technique. He climbed all the bloody pieces of rock. I was like, you idiots. I thought you actually meant he used it like a ladder. I mean, I get the joke. I think it's funny, but, you know.
This also doesn't amount to anything, and Toto has to go save Angel, taking yet another Black Flash from Sukuna. But this one puts him out of commission. These 2 Black Flashes give Sukuna the boost he needs to recover his RCT, and so he's back to 4 arms, 4 eyes, and 2 mouths. Yuji is having trouble landing hits on Sukuna this chapter, so he thinks about what Gojo said pertaining to curse techniques and how they always land when using a domain expansion, and he expands his domain for the first time. Sukuna uses Hollow Wicker Basket as his curse technique still hasn't recovered, so he can't respond with his own domain. Sukuna confirms his brain is still affected by Unlimited Void, so recovering his curse technique the way Gojo did would be risky. The fight in Yuji's domain is much more even now, but Sukuna still has an advantage on Yuji. Megumi then decides to step in and help Yuji by sinking Sukuna into a shadow. Yuji lands a flurry of blows on Sukuna, and then they, and I kid you not, deadass, just stand there and punch each other in the head. Sukuna loses this exchange and Hollow Wicker Basket starts to crack.
But they're both holding each
Sukuna
other's
uses
heads
Gojo's
as well, and
level
like
of
just
replenishing
punching
and
each other. It's
cursing
like,
and starts to
oh!
expand his domain, but he notices Yuji's finger is missing. Apparently, Yuta never ate Sukuna's last finger. He ate Yuji's, and Sukuna's last finger is still in the possession of the protagonist. Then we learn Nobara woke up about a half an hour ago, and she uses resonance on the finger, and that gives Yuji the opening he needs to land his sure hit on Sukuna and make him spit up a ton of his fingers. Sukuna, for some reason, does not understand that he's getting absolutely destroyed, calls Yuji's domain half-assed, and thinks he can still win, all because he managed to land a punch on Yuji. So Yuji hits him with Divergent Fist, and then Black Flash to finish him off for good. Rest in piss to the King of Curses.
There we, there we go. And then it's like, is he actually going to come back? You know, cool, cool. So we got the Nabar discussion with the Clyde video. Then we've got the actual like round up of the whole fight with Sukuna. That was cool. That was really awesome. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was more of an in-depth discussion thing, not like an actual like this is how the fight went down. That was boss. So yeah, like I said, I think there's only like 2 more chapters left. Sukuna could still potentially come back. We'll wait and see. But nothing really much to say. That was really, really good. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of a video, I want to be able to watch Patreon-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series. Links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys next time.